Today I'm bringing you the ultimate Bystial Synchro combo guide for the December 2023 Competitive YuGiOh format. What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and welcome back to a Competitive YuGiOh video. Last week I brought you an amazing Bystial Synchro deck profile that you guys absolutely loved, but you all were asking for some of the combos that the deck can produce. So in this video, I'm going to show you those amazing combos this deck can do. These combos are powerful, consistent, and there's a ton of possibilities to have on each end board. So if you guys are excited for the video, then make sure to smash the like button. If this video hits 120 likes, I'll bring you some live duels with this deck against some of the best decks of the meta. Also, if you like deck profiles, combo guides, meta discussions, and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh videos just like this one, you're going to love this channel. So make sure to subscribe and help us reach our end of year goal of 3,000 subscribers. Now that being said, here's the ultimate Bystial Synchro combo guide for the December 2023 competitive Yu-Gi-Oh format. Let's jump into it. Alright, so here we are back with the combo portion of the video, and you guys are going to notice one thing when I show you these combos. It's not like a specific combo tutorial where there's going to be a certain number of cards you have to see in your hand. It's basically going to be cards that you need to see in terms of the Bystials, which are quite a few of them, 9 of them in fact, and then your tuners or ways to get to your tuners, and the fact like we have your Saferd and your tuning, which are ways to get to those different tuner monsters. Now another thing I have to say is that each of these combos I'm going to show you guys today is not the most linear thing in the world, because pretty much every single one I'm going to show you has different end boards. Now do they vary quite significantly? Not really, but there's different ways to go about them that will get you to either hand rips, multiple hand rips, draws, or more than one draws, even the fact that you might end on 2 completely different end boards, but you have the same starting points. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get on started with it. And I do want to say, if you guys want to see a live duel or a couple live duels with this deck, then make sure to smash the like button. I'll bring you those live duels at 120 likes on the video. Now that being said, let's go ahead and get started with our first combo. It's going to be Guiding Quem, Bystial Saronir, and the Bystial Lubellion. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 different versions of this combo, one that kind of goes through the Exceed line and one that does not. So we're going to go ahead and start off by activating the effect of our Bystial Lubellion and discarding it from our hand field to search for any Bystial monster. In this case here, we're going to go ahead and add our copy of the Bystial Magnamut. We're then going to go ahead and normal summon out our copy of Quem. Use Quem's effect to allow us to send from our deck to the graveyard a card that mentions Fallen of Albaz. In this case, we'll send the Bystial Aluber. We're then going to go ahead and use our Bystial Saronir, banishing the Bystial Aluber to summon it out. We now have a level 4 and a level 6 on the field. We're going to go ahead and link off, or synchro off I should say, into our copy of the Bystial Dispatter. Now we have Dispatter on board, we can go ahead and use the effect of Saronir because it was sent to the graveyard, and we can send a copy of Regained from our deck to the graveyard. This is important. The reason we're sending Regained here is because we already have our Saronir, or Lubellion I should say, in rotation already, which is very important in this situation. Next up, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of the Magnamut, banishing the Guiding Quem. That's going to allow it to summon itself. We're going to use the effect of Magnamut in the end phase. Now we're going to use our Bystial Dispatter to bring back our copy of the Guiding Quem, and then we can go ahead and perform a Synchro summon. We're going to Synchro off into our copy of Baronne. There it is. We can then go ahead and use our effect of Lubellion, tributing over our copy of Dispatter to be able to summon it out. Use the effect of it to activate our branded beast directly from our deck. Then we're going to go ahead and proceed to our end phase. Beast will activate, which will allow us to activate our branded Regain from our graveyard. And then we're going to be able to trigger the effect of our Bystial Magnamut, which will allow search for any dragon monster. In this case here, let's just search for a Bystial Druisworm, for example. So this is a very straightforward line here. Another alternative that you can have is, instead of having Baronne, you can also end on Spheres. It just depends on which way you want to go. So again, in this end board here, you'll have access to either Baronne or Spheres, and you'll be able to have access to any dragon in your hand, Regained and Beast. You'll have a kind of lonely Lubellion here, I should say, but you'll have Bystial Dispatter in your graveyard as well. But Lubellion is not bad to have because you'll have Beast to tribute for it. So again, keep that in mind. It's a fantastic option nonetheless. So this here is one potential end board. We're going to back up slightly now. I'm going to show you a different line for this specific combo here. We're going to go basically to where we were after we summoned the Dispatter. So this next version, like I said, we went back to the point where after Dispatter was summoned, we managed to send it Regained off of Saronir's effect. We're going to use now Magnamut. We're going to banish our Saronir in this case over here to summon out the Magnamut. Magnamut effect end phase will activate. We're going to use Dispatter now to bring back the Saronir, and we're going to overlay these 2 into our copy of the Atum. Now, the reason why we want to go into Atum specifically in this case here is because Atum is going to be able to get us a free summon from our deck. So we'll use the Atum here, detaching our copy of Saronir to summon from our deck a copy of, in this case, we're going to be using Ringo Worm, the 100-Apple Dragon. Now, the reason I want to do this is because this card here has multiple different applications. We're going to be able to use it a few different times. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our Atum and our Ringo Worm to go ahead and link into our copy of Spheres. Now this is important. This is really our last chance to be Nibiru. In this case here, if we do get nibbed, we have access to follow up in our Spheres. It's really a bad option for them. So in this case over here, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go ahead and use our Lubellion. We're going to tribute over our copy of the Dispatter to summon it out. We're then going to use the effect to activate our branded beast directly from our deck. Then, because we did use a synchro summon this turn, we can go ahead and banish our copy of Ringo Worm to give ourselves a token. We're then going to have this token be a level 2 tuner. We're going to be able to synchro off this tuner and this non-tuner into, this token goes away, into our copy of the Baronne once again. So in this case here, we have a very similar end board right now, but we have access to a few more pieces of interruption because we're going to go to our end phase here. We're going to trigger the effect of Beast, which will activate our copy of Regained. We're going to trigger our Magnemite effect, which will add us our copy of Druid's Worm, or any dragon monster for that matter. And now when we pass a turn to our opponent, we have 2 cards in our hand plus Druid's Worm with both Regain and Beast set up. Now Beast may not be online, but as soon as our opponent normal or special summons a monster, we can use the Regain to bring back our copy of Dispatter. So we have that online now with the banish, with cards in our banish zone, so we can destroy cards. We have a Baronne Negate, we have a bounce with this, and of course we have the Druid's Worm summon. And if we banish a card that we control in our graveyard or in our opponent's graveyard with the Druid's Worm, we can trigger the Regained and draw another card, which is all absolutely incredible. So basically our end board is so stacked, but with very minimal investment to the rest of the deck. There are obviously a few other lines that you can go to with this combo here. I do want to say that you can actually end up with a situation where you can get a hand rip with this combo here, but more importantly than that, if you decide to go through the Xyz play, you can go ahead and summon out the Safer instead of the Ringo Worm and go through your black and white dragons to be able to get to a board of Spheres, IP with Regained, Beast, any dragon in your hand, Magnemite, and Dispatter in your graveyard as well, which depending on against the deck you're playing, could be even more threatening than this board here. The next combo I'm going to show you is very similar. Instead of having Lubellion, we actually have Magnemite, or honestly it can be any other Bystial, but Magnemite is the best one. The board, it doesn't change too much, so I'm not going to show you the one that doesn't go through the Atum line. I'm going to show you 2 others that go through the Atum line instead. So we're going to go ahead and start off by normal summoning our copy of Quem. Quem effect will dump our copy of the Bystial Aluber to the graveyard. We're going to use our Saronir, banishing the Aluber to summon itself out. We're then going to go ahead and use these 2 as synchro material to go into our copy of Dispatter. We're going to trigger our copy of Saronir now, which will be able to send from our deck to the graveyard a copy of the Bystial Lubellion now. So we have that in rotation as well. We're then going to go Magnemite effect again, banishing our copy of Saronir to summon itself out. That'll allow us to then activate its effect in the end phase. We're going to now use Dispatter to bring back our copy of Saronir. Of course, that is the main line that we're going for in this case because we want to be able to Xyz into our copy of Atum once again. We're now going to use the Atum effect, detaching, doesn't really matter here. In this case, we'll banish the Saronir to keep it in the graveyard more than the copy of a Magnemite, so it doesn't get Bystialed out of there, for example, right away. But off the effect of Atum, we're going to summon out our copy of the Seifert. Now, there are 2 lines here. You can go ahead and use Seifert right away on itself, or you can tribute over the Dispatter with Lubellion, so we'll be coming back to this board state here in a minute. But in this case here, we're going to go ahead and use the Seifert, sending itself for cost to be able to add our copy of, in this case, we're going to go ahead and add our copy of the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. And before we summon out the Black Dragon Collapse, we're going to use our Seifert, banishing itself for cost to target our Lubellion added to our hand. We're then going to use Lubellion, sending itself to the graveyard to add any Bystial monster. In this case here, we're going to go ahead and add the Bystial Druid's Worm. Now, if you want to summon it out, then by all means summon it out, but if you don't want to, it's not a big deal at all. In this case here, we're not actually going to need it to summon it out right now. Our next play is going to be to banish our copy of the Guiding Quem to summon out our copy of Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. We're then going to use a copy of Atum with our copy of Black to go into our copy of Seals and trigger the effect of our Collapse Serpent, which allows us to go into our deck and add our copy of White Dragon Wyverburster. This is, again, the reason why we're doing this now is because we want to protect ourselves from Nibiru as much as possible. Next, we're going to go ahead and use our copy of Lubellion in the graveyard, tributing over our copy of Bystial Dispatter, and using its effect to activate directly from our deck our copy of Branded Regained. In this situation here, we have a few different options, but the main thing we're going to be doing is now going to use our effect of our White Dragon to be able to banish our copy of the Black Dragon and summon itself out. And then we can go ahead and trigger our effect of Branded Regained to bottom deck our copy of Black Dragon and draw a blank card. So in this case here, we've already added 2 more cards to our hand. Then we're going to go ahead and link off our copy of the White and Lubellion into a copy of the IP Masquerena, and we'll trigger the effect of our White Dragon Wyverburster, which will allow us to add our copy of the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent back to our hand. And again, we already started with 2 other cards in our hand, so we have an equal in card advantage here, and then we'll proceed to our end phase and we'll trigger the effect of our Magnemite, and we can add any dragon from our deck to our hand. In this case here, I'll add a copy of Baldrake for further interruption. So right here, this board doesn't look as terrifying. I wish I put this a bit lower. There we go. So this board doesn't look as scary as it could be, but right now in the situation, we have quite a few different pieces of interruption. When our opponent summons a monster, we can use the effect of Regain and bring back either our Dispatter or our copy of Magnemite from our graveyard to get a search or interruption. We have 2 different forms of Bystials if they're playing a light or dark deck, which is absolutely insane. And then we also have a situation, we have 3 other blanks in our hand, I should say. The 2 draws we started with and the draw in our hand as well. And we have potential discard discard fodder as well in our copy of Black Dragon Clap Serpent should we need it. So this is very scary because we can also go into IP and go into our SP Little Knight off of that as well. Summon anything off of our copy of the spheres as well. It's just an absolute crazy end board here that just looks so unassuming but is very powerful in this situation. I'm going to now show you an alternative line to this specific end board here. So we're going to now go back to where we had the Dispatter. We use the effect array to bring back our Saronir with the Atum that hasn't used its effect. So we're now going to go ahead and use the effect of our Dispatter, or Atum I should say, detaching our Saronir. In this case, we're going to summon back a Seyfert once again. The next step we're going to do is, instead of going and sending off our Seyfert, we're going to go ahead and use our Lubellion here, getting rid of our Dispatter, and then activating its effect to get out our copy of Regain, I should say. We're then going to go ahead and use our copy of Seyfert, getting rid of the Bystial Lubellion. And the reason why this is important now is because we can add our copy of the Chaos Dragon Levianir. We're going to go ahead and use our Seyfert as link material to go into our copy of the Striker Dragon, which will get it into the graveyard. We then can go ahead and banish our copy of Seyfert to add our Bystial Lubellion to hand, and then discard it right away to be able to search for any Bystial monster. In this case here, let's go for the Baldrake. Now we're going to go ahead and use our Striker and our copy of Atum to go into our copy of Seals. And then we're going to go ahead and use our copy of Levianir. And you're going to see how we have quite a few different darks in our graveyard right now. So we're going to go ahead and use our copy of Magnamut, Striker Dragon, and Saronir in our graveyard, banishing all of them to be able to summon out our opponent, our Levianir. And because we've banished 3 different dark monsters, we can go ahead and use the effect of Levianir. But before we do that, we want to go Chainlink 1 Regained, targeting our copy of the Bystial Magnamut to bottom deck it and draw a card. Chainlink 2 Levianir to hand rip our opponent. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This will go ahead and put it to the bottom of the deck, and we'll draw a card. It'll be a blank card in top of our deck. There we go. And now we can go ahead and rip a card out of our opponent's hand. Then, because we don't want to have a copy of Levianir just sitting there on our side of the field, we're going to go ahead and use our copy of Baldrake here, banishing our copy of Atum. It doesn't really matter too much, just summon it out. And then we're going to link off these two into our copy of IP once again. And then we can go ahead and move to the end phase, trigger the effect of our copy of Magnamut to get our copy of Druid's Worm, and there we go. Now we have a very similar end board to what we had before. The biggest difference is going to be that instead of having access to the black and white combo line, our opponent has 1 fewer card in their hand, which depending on the matchup could be even better or more impressive. There's a potential end board for you to go with as well, but the end board itself, what's actually on the field, is the exact same in this situation as well. And of course, when you go for spheres this time, when you tribute itself, you can summon out the Magnamut from your deck, which will allow it to trigger its effect. So keep that in mind as well. This next combo is a very straightforward 2-card combo I want to show off. Everyone should probably know this combo by now. If you don't, then you're going to learn it here. So the first thing we're going to do is activate the effect of Lubellion, discarding it to go ahead and search for our copy of the Bystial Saronir directly from our deck. We're going to go ahead and use our Saronir, targeting Lubellion, banishing it to summon it out, and then we're going to go ahead and use our Assault Synchron, summoning it, taking 700 life points. It's important that you do this in this order because if you go ahead and summon the Assault Synchron first and then use Bystial Saronir, if your opponent has a Bystial in their hand, then they can go ahead and use it as a quick effect to get rid of Lubellion, which will just end your turn. So now we're going to go ahead and use these two, synchro them off into our copy of the Excel Stardust Synchro Dragon. There we go. We're going to go ahead and use Chainlink 1 Saronir, Chainlink 2 Excel. The reason we want to do that is because the only thing that has to be chain blocked for the Excel would be like Ghost Belt, for example, but we don't really care about that too much. It's more important that we don't get hit with Ash on the Saronir. So we're going to go ahead and trigger our effect of Saronir first, which will go ahead and send a copy of Bystial Lubellion from our deck to the graveyard, and then Excel will bring back our level 2 tuner in the Assault Synchron. We're going to go ahead and synchro off these two, I should say, into our copy of the Bystial Dispatter. Now we have a couple cards in our graveyard here that we can do because we're going to go ahead and use our effect of Lubellion, tributing our Dispatter to summon it out. That's going to trigger our effect of Assault Synchron. We can banish it to summon back our copy of the Bystial Dispatter. We're going to go ahead and use our effect of the Bystial Lubellion to activate from our deck our copy of Branded Regained. You can do Beast if you want to as well. I prefer Regain in this situation. Then we're going to go ahead and use Dispatter, bring back our Assault Synchron, and synchro off these two into our copy of Baronne. Now, there we go. That's going to be the end board here. You can also, instead of going Baronne, you can go to IP as well if you prefer, but this is really what we're looking at. It's a quick 2-card combo that you all need to know if you're playing this deck. Our next combo is going to be Saronir, Seyfert, and Assault Synchron. Now we're going to go ahead and start off by normal summoning our copy of Seyfert, using its effect, sending Bystial Saronir for cost, which will also search for any Bystial monster because they're all level 6s. In this case here, we're going to get the best one, which is going to be the copy of the Bystial Magnamut. Then we're going to go ahead and trigger our copy of the Saronir, which we'll have to send from our deck to the graveyard, our copy of the Bystial Lubellion. And then we have access to that as well. Then we're going to go ahead and use our Seyfert to be able to link it into our copy of the Striker Dragon. That's going to get it into the graveyard because we can then use our effect of the Seyfert, banishing itself, targeting our Lubellion to add it back to hand, discarding it to go ahead and search for any Bystial monster. In this case here, let's go ahead and add our copy of Bystial Druid's Worm. I do want to say that this could be any Bystial monster. You can even do Saronir instead if you really want to. So we'll just do Saronir in this case. Now we're going to go ahead and use our copy of Magnamut. We're going to go and target the Saronir, banishing it to summon it out. We're then going to use our Excel Synchron, summoning out, taking 700 life points, and then synchroing off these two. I should say also, don't forget to use Magnum, its effect and end phase. So we're going to synchro summon these two into our copy of Excel. We're going to go Excel effect, summon back our Assault Synchron in this case. Then we have material for a level 10 synchro. We're going to go ahead and synchro off these two for our copy of the Dispatter once again, the heart and soul of this specific deck. We're then going to tribute our Dispatter for our copy of Lubellion, which will trigger the effect of Assault Synchron, banishing itself, summon back the copy of Dispatter. We're then going to go ahead and use the Lubellion to activate directly from our deck our copy of the Branded Regained once again. Next up, we're going to go ahead and link off our Lubellion and our Striker Dragon here for a copy of Spheres once again. And then we can go ahead and use our copy of Dispatter to bring back our Saronir in this case. Put it over here. Doesn't really matter too much. We're going to link off with it anyways, or exceed with it. We're then going to use our Saronir because we actually didn't use this card of Saronir. This effect of Saronir was never used. It was sent off of the effect of the Safer. So we're going to use the Saronir. In this case here, we're going to banish, I'll banish the copy of the Magnuma because we're going to shuffle it back into our deck anyway. So we're going to go ahead and banish the Magnuma, summon out the Saronir. I'm going to use our effect of Saronir now, summon it back into the deck. And then we can go ahead and draw one mystery card as well. Next up, we're going to go ahead and use these two as link material, or Exceed material, I should say, into our copy of Atom once again. We're going to go ahead and use our Atom, detach any to summon out any dragon monster from our deck. My preferred option for this case here is actually going to be for Noctivision Dragon. And the reason why is because we're now going to go ahead and use our copy of Atom and our copy of Noctivision Dragon to go and link off into our copy of the IP Masquerena. And now what have we done here? Well, because we've used Noctivision Dragon as link material, we get to draw an additional card. So now we have a couple cards in our hand. We have the way to get to one, in end phase. We're going to be able to trigger our effect of the Bystial Magnamut, which will go ahead and get us any dragon monster. In this case here, let's just go ahead and grab a copy of another Bystial. We'll go with Bystial Drewsworm. We have 3 cards on hand. We already started off with 2 more that we didn't use, and that's just already on top of that crazy. So now we have IP, Spheres, which can get us out our Magnamut again. We have Dispatter with live banishes. We have Regain to bring back any Bystial monster. In this case, it would be Saronir. So if you really want to banish something like the Striker Dragon, you totally can, instead of the Magnamut, and shuffle this back in instead. But yeah, that's going to be the combo here. Very scary line once again. This next combo is going to require Ringo Worm, the Bystial Lubellion on any dragon extender. It could be a Bystial, it can be something like the Baby Dragons, it can be Noctivision, it can even be Levianir, which is going to be the hardest one, but it does have a nice advantage that I'm going to show you in just a second. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to use our copy of the Lubellion, sending it to the graveyard to add, of course, our copy of the Bystial Saronir, which is going to be the most important one for this specific line. We're then going to use our Saronir, banishing our copy of Lubellion to summon it out. We're then going to normal out our copy of the Ringo Worm and use these two as synchro material to go into our copy of Excel. We're going to go Chainlink 1 Saronir, Chainlink 2 Excel, because Excel's effect, while it's important, it's not ashable, which is a big thing here as well. So we're going to go Chainlink 1 Excel, or Chainlink 2 Excel, bring back the Ringo Worm, Chainlink 1 Saronir, which will have to send down our copy of the Bystial Lubellion to the graveyard once again. We're going to take these two, we're going to synchro them off into our copy of the Bystial Dispatter once more. We're then going to banish our copy of Ringo Worm for a token that is a level 2 tuner monster, very important here. We're then going to be able to use our effect of the Dispatter to bring back the Ringo Worm once more. Then we're going to go ahead and use our Lubellion, tributing off the Dispatter to summon itself out. And using its effect, we can go ahead and activate directly from our deck our copy of Regained or Beast. Again, I prefer Regained. We're then going to go ahead and link off our Ringo Worm directly into our copy of Striker Dragon. And then we'll use Striker Dragon and Lubellion to go into our copy of Seals. Now, why are we doing it in this order? The reason why is because we want to get another dark monster into our graveyard. Right now, we have 1, 2, 3 darks in our graveyard. We're going to banish them all to summon out our copy of Levianir. We're going to go Chainlink 1 Regain so they can't Ash it, Chainlink 2 Levianir. The only thing that can really hit Levianir is going to be like Imperm, Valor, things like that, things that target. So it doesn't matter if you go Chainlink 2 Levianir. So we're going to go Chainlink 1 Regained, targeting the Dispatter, Chainlink 2 Levianir. So Dispatter will come back into the deck, and then Levianir will hand rip our opponent. We'll also be able to draw a card as well, so keep that in mind. Then we're going to go ahead and use our Levianir and our level 2 tuner monster, which is a token. We'll get rid of that. And we can go back into our copy of the Bystial Dispatter, or we can go into our copy of Barone, or we can go into a copy of IP. So basically, we have a few different options here. So we have a level 10 synchro of choice, or IP, plus spheres, plus regained, plus 3 cards on hand, the 1 card that we drew off the effect of regained, and 2 cards that we started with as well. So this is one option as well that you want to look at. Any Dragon Synchro, any Dragon Extender, I should say, gets you this line. The fact that you have to banish a lot of your resources to use it if you go Levianeer is unfortunate. It's not the best line, but you also hand your opponent for 1, which is a really solid thing to do as well. So that's going to do it for this combo guy. I know you guys probably want to see a test hand or two, but just based on time, I felt like it was appropriate to cut it off over here around 20 minutes. If you guys enjoyed the video, then do me a favor and leave a like on the video. If you guys hit 120 likes on the video, then I'll make sure to bring you a live duel with this deck. You'll be able to see the deck in action, how it does against different interruptions and combos, etc. You're going to love that type of video. Of course, guys, if you guys want to see more competitive Yu-Gi-Oh videos, then make sure to subscribe for that kind of content and help us reach our end of the year goal of 3,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.